I'm so excited to introduce our speaker for today's service, Frances McCarthy. Karen is an international medium. She is a healer. She is a public speaker. She's a published author. She runs her own classes and does her own private sessions in her mediumship. And one of the things that is, to me, so important knowing Karen is that she does all of these things with truth and with integrity. And through that truth and integrity, she has gotten awards and certificates from places like the Arthur Findlay College, from the Edgar Cayce Center in Virginia. She holds a diploma in bereavement or grief counseling. And with that, she brings to everyone that sense of truth, that sense of integrity. So if you've never had the opportunity to work with Karen before, or to see her demonstrate, or to see her talk, we are certainly privileged to have that opportunity today. Her second book was just recently published, which is Till Death Don't Us Part. So also, if you get a chance, please look into that. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce today Frances McCarthy.
Good morning, Sharon. Good morning, everyone. It is lovely to be here. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. I have been thinking over the last few days about something that Zen Master Han once said. He said, "A wave becomes enlightened when it realizes it's the ocean." And it started me thinking about a question that I've been asked quite a lot of late. I've been getting a lot of questions from people asking, is there such a thing as reincarnation? Not that I know, obviously, but it got me thinking, what reincarnates? What is me? So if we take away, for example, all our early experiences, our cultural influences, if we take away our society, if we take away what we grew up with, if we take away all of our relationships and all of the early influences, all of the influences we continue to have throughout our life that has made us who we are, if we take away our education and our opinions and our perceptions, if we take away our body chemistry, the thing that can influence whether we're happy or sad or whatnot, what then is left? What is me if all of these things that I consider have made me me are taken away? What would be reincarnating? The same wave? Probably not. It got me to thinking about what is me actually? What is me? Am I my body chemistry? Am I my perceptions? Or am I my ego? Am I my influences or my opinions? What exactly constitutes me? Well, the easiest thing, I suppose, is to say is that, I'm me, I'm not you. You're you. I'm me, I'm not you. Immediately what that does is it sets this up with this idea of me and the other. It immediately sets up a division between me and you. Now, division is really something I think we are all seeing in multiple ways every day in our current climate, in our current times. We have all sorts of divisions. We have protests here for one thing and counter protests over here for another thing. It just seems everybody is up in arms for a cause that rankles somebody else. Everybody thinks their rights are being trampled on. Everybody over there thinks their rights are being trampled on. We're just surrounded by division on a daily basis. And out of this division, we're seeing a lot of me culture. What matters to me? And this is in all sorts of walks. This is socially, culturally, politically, even in terms of public health. I mean, the entire idea of wearing a mask now has become politicized. Now, I'm in New York City, and we were clobbered by the coronavirus. We were clobbered by COVID. When a dear friend of mine suffered greatly and then died, for a long time on a ventilator from COVID. Beautiful person. I had 5 other friends suffer for over a month with COVID, and the long-term effects still haven't been found. But boy, did they suffer, not being able to breathe. And so we had to deal with, mass graves being opened in the Bronx. There's nowhere to put the bodies. We had to deal with seeing refrigerator trucks lining the streets filled with bodies because the morgues were full. We really got to see a lot of suffering here in New York. And so now people, largely are like, I now wear a mask because I care about you. I don't want to spread my bubbles, my particles to you. So I'm wearing a mask because to show that I care about you. And this is, largely the way is the approach that has been taken in New York. But that really annoys a lot of people because they're on the other side of the coin and they're saying that it is their right not to wear a mask. Now, I remember this argument, well, I don't really remember. There was the argument about it's my right not to wear a seatbelt either. But in this case, it's not just about our safety, it's about what we are spreading to other people. Now, many people believe that, the spread is not true. Many people are finding information that supports their own argument, as we tend to do, all of us on both sides of our current divides. But public health has become the reason for division. Public health has become a political issue. And all day, every day, we are going around saying that we're trying to do the best we can do in our current climate. Divisions everywhere, protests everywhere, hostility and anger everywhere. People feeling that because I feel I need to wear a mask to protect other people, that I'm encroaching on their rights, or they're feeling that, they're encroaching on my rights, and it's become a mess. But why is this? Why is somebody saying something? And it's not just about masks, it's across the board. It's about all sorts of stuff. We're seeing the Black Lives Matter, we're seeing people come out against that, for that, protests everywhere. What is actually going on here? Somebody says something that rankles me, it's something I don't agree with. It's something that is tolerable to them, completely intolerable to me. They say it. I react. Why is that? Now there's even greater division, because now we're both angry. What on earth do we do with this? Well, part of it comes back to, who am I? Who are you? What am I? Am I my ego? That's my sense of self-identity. And if it's the ego that has been triggered every time the hairs in the back of my neck stand on end because somebody has said something that I think is just intolerable, lacking kindness or compassion, something I think maybe is so selfish. What have I done? I've come back at them with judgment because I feel like they have stepped on my rights, on my sense of my value, and the value of my beliefs. And the ego kicks in. The ego is triggered. The ego responds. But what has been triggered? That's really the question. Why has something somebody else believed triggered something in me? Am I just so socially outraged? No, more personal than that. It's because people behave in this way, and it sounds like when they come out and they disagree, so they come out and say, my right to wear a mask, I don't care if I spew bubbles or will be. And I feel disrespected, I feel undervalued, I feel my rights are being encroached on. Now we're all up in arms, we're all digging in, we're all drawing lines. But why do I feel disrespected, undervalued, or encroached upon by somebody else who's only really interested in pursuing the needs of their own ego too? Why is their behavior? Why am I taking their behavior personally? I believe when we start to realize we're acting out of the ego, out of an ego place, we begin to become more conscious. Now I can realize that somebody has triggered something in me, the ego has responded and paused. So that's my responsibility. It is their responsibility to understand their own ego drives and their own consciousness, their own what is tolerant for them. That's their business. That's not my business. My business is to understand what was just triggered and why. I mean, the ego steps in to protect us, which means something in us feels vulnerable, something in us is hurt, and we are attacking to defend. But what if we turned that around? What if the trigger was an opportunity to pause, to say, this person who I don't know, who's acting out of their own conscious or unconscious behavior, has had an effect on me. Why is that? What is that effect? What is that trigger? What is behind that trigger? Why has the ego stepped in to protect some vulnerable part of me? Because the ego steps in to protect us where we are vulnerable, steps in to protect something in us that is wounded and need of healing. And so if we were to see these situations, instead of lashing out of the other person, if we were to, say, turn that inward and look to ourselves, where do I need to heal? It's self-care. It takes a lot of growth and healing to be able to turn the lens around on ourselves, start to heal those painful places we run away from all our lives, those painful places where it's easier to be angry with somebody else and have to sit with and experience why that wound happened. This is how we become conscious. This is how we stop those divisions. This is how we stop drawing those battle lines. Now, as spiritualists, we know that we are unconditionally loved. We see this all the time. We experience this all of the time. We experience the healing that is sent to us from the spirit world. We hear messages from loved ones in the spirit world. We are constantly in a state where people are there coming back to express joy, to show us their bonds endure, to show us that we are not alone, to show us how we are loved unconditionally and cared for unconditionally. How many times do we hear messages that are the most simple? Just say, I am here, I did not die, and I love you. When we are so unconditionally loved like that, why are we reacting when we feel somebody's not loving us or somebody's not respecting us? Why do we need to do that? How do we turn that around to sit with our own wounds and to do our own healing? Because that's the only way. It's only in self-care is the only way we can take what is shown to us and pay it forward. The only way we can show the love and concern and care and compassion that is shown to us from the spirit world is to take that and pay it forward, to let other people know, I am here and I care about you. Not being triggered, not being angry. I see your pain. It is not my pain. I have my own pain that needs healing. And I wish you well on your path, on your journey to healing. In Buddhism, there is a practice which used to really annoy me, which is called metta practice. And what metta practice is that you will just sort of very simple and incredibly difficult, as is most things in Buddhism. And you sit, and you will just sit, and you will say, offer up, may all beings be happy, may all beings be healthy, and may all beings, whatever else you want to do. And then you turn it to somebody you love, say your child or your spouse or your mother and parent or whoever, and you can say, May my mother be happy. May my mother be healthy. May my mother have everything she needs, whatever you're wishing for that person. Very easy to do that with somebody that you love. What about yourself? May I be happy. May I be happy. We do that genuinely for ourselves too. But now, what about other people? What about people who really make the hair on the back of our neck stand up? What about the people who have wronged us? What about the people who make our lives a misery? What about the people who tolerate what is completely intolerable to us? What about the people who just don't seem to care about me or anybody else? Where the practice gets difficult, can we actually sit there and say, may you be happy, may you be healthy, and mean it? Very difficult. But while we can't do it, what we have become aware of is a division. And we have become aware of a division because what we perceive in them to be an affront, our ego is responding to, because it is there to protect a wounded and vulnerable place in us that instead of responding to them needs again to be turned in and nurtured and cared for and shown compassion for ourselves. See, this crisis in so many ways, in so many issues are arising with it, is that it is holding a mirror up to our ego on a daily basis. It is showing us where we feel threatened. Other people's behavior is showing where we're reactive, where we feel devalued, where we need to heal. It offers us an opportunity to observe our reactions and observe our ego, observe our vulnerability, so that we know that we need to care for ourselves. Because if we don't care for ourselves, how can we genuinely be caring and compassionate for somebody else? So as difficult as these times are, they are still offering us an opportunity to heal and grow, to heal divisions. We hear all the time, we should keep a gratitude journal, and it's a beautiful idea. I keep the gratitude journal. I am grateful for 5 things. But again, it's the I, me. I'm grateful for these things, which is a good, beautiful practice. What about the healing journal? What about journaling all of the times we were triggered in the course of the day with somebody who holds a belief system that's just abhorrent to us? Somebody who tolerates or supports something that just nauseates us. Something that somebody does that we feel, how could they possibly care about others? And if they don't care about others, why should I care about them? Stop this cycle. One way we can stop that cycle is to keep a healing journal next to our gratitude journal, where we can see each day, track, where was I just triggered? You stop, take a moment. You want to actually go say something terrible to somebody, to pause and ask, what have they triggered in me? What needs healing? And journal about that, so that we can be more healed and more whole people who can share our self-care with other people. And when it comes to self-care and caring about other people, it's easy to say, oh, I care about everybody. But how do we really pay that forward? What if we had a compassion journal? What if every morning we got up and wrote down the 5 things we're grateful for, and then in the evening we wrote down how we were compassionate for the others, so that our day can start with our focus and end with our focus on another? In the course of our day, did I do 5 things, tiny little things they may be, that actually showed compassion and care for another? Not just saying it, showing it. And these don't have to be massive things. It can be the little thing. You know, like the guy in the subway, the homeless guy in the subway that nobody wants near them because he smells, begging. Now you could give him $1. Is he compassionate? Maybe it's $1. But it's not just the dollar. You were the one person on the subway train that didn't turn away, start looking at their phone as soon as he came near to try to avoid him, to make him move on. You were the one person who looked at another human being and saw him just for a few seconds. But you were the one person who didn't treat him like an animal. No matter how much you give him, you also gave him that. Acknowledging the divinity in him and acknowledging the divinity in yourself is an act of compassion. The Dalai Lama said, whether one believes in a religion or not, and whether one believes in rebirth or not, there isn't anyone who doesn't appreciate kindness and compassion. How true is that? So along with our gratitude, let us be more compassionate. Let us be more compassionate to ourselves so that we can remove those dividing lines, so that we can actually begin to see and relate to the divinity in others, no matter how difficult that is. So we can look past those divisions. Now, I'm not saying we condone people's behavior, but we can certainly see it as not our own. Remove our own reactivity, remove our own aggression and our own affront and our own sense of indignity from these situations, and focus more on our own healing. Imagine if that was done 7 billion times a day, how different things would be. We are one creation under God, all creation, one creation under God. We are all a drop of the same God. The essence of me, without all of the trappings of the conditioning and the influences and the body chemistry, etc., etc., etc. The essence of me is also the essence of you. So I am you. We are all a drop of God. In our essential nature, there are no divisions, which means in our healed state, there are no divisions. So let us see the divinity in ourselves. Let us heal so that we can see the divinity in ourselves. And then let us see the divinity in others, whether they choose to heal or not. And remember Master Han's words. A wave becomes enlightened when it realizes it's the ocean.
Karen, thank you so much for your words and for your thoughts for today. I know it is something that we are all struggling with, we're all dealing with, not only here in the United States, but around the world. So with those thoughts today, it gives us a lot to think about. Thank you so much.